Last Saturday was Earth Day, and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people across this country had to march in favor of science, because not since Galileo was condemned by the Inquisition for asserting that the Earth orbits the sun, not since Galileo was condemned by the Inquisition, have science deniers had such powerful friends. Our species went 1,000 years without science. We call those years, in retrospect, the Dark Ages. My time in this Congress has convinced me that we should be guided by scientific consensus, by scientific facts, not alternative facts. Scientific fact: climate change is real and predominantly man-made, and if we don't reduce our emission of greenhouse gases, then we're going to lose our ports, our beaches, our health, and entire countries like the Maldive Islands. Another scientific fact: Donald Trump can't stop global warming only by emitting impressive volumes of hot air. Let me say that again. Donald Trump can't stop global warming just by emitting an unprecedented volume of hot air. Now, a week earlier, we had tax day, and millions of Americans across this country, including in Los Angeles, needed to demonstrate to try to get Donald Trump to reveal his tax returns. Now, every president since Richard Nixon has released their tax returns. Donald Trump told us in May of 2014, if I decide to run for office, I will produce my tax returns. And he said it again a year later. And then he said it during the Republican debate in 2016. He said, "Oh, I'll release my tax returns, but they're under audit." Well, according to Donald Trump, his 2011 and 2012 returns aren't under audit. He ought to release those. But he ought to release all of his tax returns, and this idea that they're under audit is absolutely absurd. The IRS has made it clear any taxpayer can release their tax return whether they're under audit or not. And everyone in the tax world — I headed the second largest tax agency in this country for several years, I'm a CPA, etc. — knows that you can release your tax returns whether you're under audit or not. Now, I understand that you don't want to release information to your adversary. And if you're being audited, the IRS is your adversary. But Donald Trump knows that the IRS already has his tax returns. So who is the adversary from which Donald Trump is withholding information? The American people are the adversary that cannot see his tax return that the IRS already has. But it's not enough to just see Donald Trump's Form 1040, because he tells us that he has 532 private businesses, secret businesses in the sense that they do not report their financial information to the SEC, over 532 of those business entity investments. We need to see the tax returns of every business entity that Trump controls. Over 100 of those investments are in foreign countries. We need to see the tax returns of Trump Panama Hotel, LLC, Trump Korea, LLC, DT Dubai Golf Course, LLC, and all the business entities that he has that are doing business in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and China. Finally, Donald Trump ran as a populist, especially on corporate issues. But now he wants to allow corporate inversions that provide tax benefits to corporate Benedict Arnolds who betray our country and incorporate in some foreign country. He refuses to designate China as a currency manipulator, even though he pledged to the American people during his rallies that he would do just that. And he refuses to do anything about Chinese requirements for co-production agreements. Donald Trump, his rallies,
the gentleman's time has
like Bernie
expired.
Sanders, but he's governing like Goldman Sachs. I yield back.
The gentleman from California yields back. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Messer.